Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Empowerment with Elizabeth. Today, I'm here with my sweet new friend Mallory, and she is the current Miss Kentucky, and she's going to talk to us about her year as a state title holder and her experience at Miss America. So, Mallory, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Mallory Hudson. I'm Miss Kentucky 2023. I'm originally from Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about an hour north of Nashville, Tennessee. And then I'm a current senior at the University of Kentucky, where I'll graduate in May with my Bachelor's of Arts in Communications, with an ultimate goal to attend law school to potentially be a disability rights attorney due to the work that I've done with my service initiative, Inclusive Stages, which provides theatrical and artistic opportunities for individuals with special learning needs and disabilities. But I have been Miss Kentucky since July 1st of 2023. So I'm about 7 months, I guess, now into my year. And it really has just been the joy of my lifetime to give back to my home state of 22 years in this capacity. I think today I did probably my 235th appearance as Miss Kentucky.
Wow.
We're moving and grooving for sure. A really unique part about being Miss Kentucky is that I have a full-time position working for the Kentucky Department of Agriculture as Kentucky Proud spokesperson, which is the official state marketing program for agricultural products and services made within the state of Kentucky. So it's really cool that I'm able to not only advocate for Kentucky agriculture, but also things that I'm passionate about in my year as Miss Kentucky as well.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so talk about how you got started in pageantry. How many years did you compete? How young were you when you started? Give us the whole background.
Yes, so I actually say that I fell into the Miss America opportunity in a very serendipitous manner. I didn't grow up competing in pageants or competitions really of any kind, but when I was a senior in high school, I was approached by a local director, Regina Webb. She's the director of the Miss Bowling Green Scholarship Organization here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and she asked me if I wanted to get involved. I said, absolutely not. I am not interested in that at all. And needless to say, she made a couple phone calls over the course of a couple days. And 2 days before a preliminary competition, I said, hey, you know what? What can it hurt? I am a senior and I'm going to need those scholarship dollars in just a few short months. So I took that leap of faith, took that adventure, and I'm so glad that I did.
I love that. I love that. So talk about your talent. We just saw you compete at Miss America and you killed it, by the way. You sang. So how did you come across the talent of singing? Is that something that you were doing beforehand? And then also talk about how you go about picking a selection, a music selection for either state or nationals.
Absolutely. So I grew up doing musical theater, so it was a very nice segue into being a vocalist for the talent portion of the competition for Miss Kentucky and subsequently Miss America as well. As far as, picking a piece or picking a song, I do a lot of surfing the good old YouTube. I love watching, covers on America's Got Talent or The Voice, and I think that's an excellent way to kind of stumble across pieces that may be a little bit more unique and done in a way that is kind of special and can showcase a unique part of your voice or even an instrument. That could be an excellent way to look for selections there as well. But at the state competition, I sang "I Put a Spell on You," which was a really fun kind of jazzy, bluesy rendition, but also very theatrical. And then at the national competition, I sang "I Who Have Nothing." And originally, I wasn't really sure that I was going to change my talent for the national competition. I felt confident doing "I Put a Spell on You." I think it kind of honed in and emphasized the musical theater skills. I felt like I was playing a character. I really love songs where I feel like I'm able to do that. But I was, surfing YouTube, as I previously mentioned, just to see if there was anything that caught my eye. And there was a version of "I Who Have Nothing" that Cynthia Erivo sang at the Kennedy Center a couple years ago. And it really just felt like it should be in a James Bond movie, kind of had that same theatrical vibe that "I Put a Spell on You" had, but it was different and something unique and something that I thought would push me as a vocalist as well. And so I said, hey, you know what? You only go to Miss America one time, so let's change it up. And I was really excited and felt confident in my national talent selection.
I love that. I love that. So we talked about talent, but talk
Yeah.
about favorite phase of competition? You know, what is it? And then talk to us a little bit about why that phase is your favorite.
Yes, so I absolutely love interview, the private interview. Not that I don't like on stage interview, but there's definitely a sense of pressure when you're on stage and you feel those eyes watching you. I think, viewing the private interview as a conversation really helped me developing as a local title holder and a state title holder prepping for the national competition. And really, that's the only opportunity that the judges are going to have before they pick a title holder to get to know you one on one. And so I think that was really transformative for me when I started to look at it as a conversation rather than, presenting these facts and ideas that I had in mind for my year as Miss Kentucky. And so I think when I really honed in on the ability to always be telling a story, I love to talk. And so I think when I leaned into that and just let myself be a person rather than a perfectionist, that's when some things really started to change for me. And I felt myself really starting to love that area of competition. But I will say that fitness has slowly but surely become a really fun phase as well. It's so high energy. It's just fun. I think you can tell on everyone's faces that they're having a good time. And I think that that's a great addition, with the partnership with the American Heart Association. It's meaningful, it's impactful. And I think adding that substance to that area of competition is really important. And, I was really excited about the partnership with AHA as well, because my uncle had a widowmaker heart attack a couple years ago, which only has a 12% survival rate. But, he's fantastic. He's thriving and doing super well. But I really do credit, his survival to the billions of dollars that the American Heart Association has put into cardiac research. So I think that phase is really making its way up there in my book as well.
I love those. I think that those are like could not be more polar opposite. That's so funny that you think those is your favorite.
Exactly. No, I love it. And then, you got to make a case for evening gown as well, because that was one of my favorite parts of Miss America when we started, trying on our evening gowns and you'd see people in the hallway on the way to their Carlos Velez photo shoots. And you could just really see people's style coming out as well. So, hey, I think there's a case to be made for all of them.
I love it. I love it. You talked about interview, and a big part of the interview is talking about your CSI, which you mentioned earlier. So talk about, what your CSI is, what you've been doing with it, and what your plans are for the future.
Absolutely. So, Inclusive Stages, like I mentioned previously, provides theatrical and artistic opportunities for individuals with special learning needs and disabilities. And, like I said, I grew up in the arts. I grew up loving theater. And so, being able to share that with the disabled community has been something really of a dream come true. And I was in a production of Hello Dolly in 2018. I played Dolly Levi. It's still my favorite role to this day. But after the performance, a lot of participants from Down Syndrome of Southern Kentucky's Buddy House came to the performance, and they were pantomiming a lot of moves from the show, singing a lot of notes. And on the way home, at the time I was only a sophomore in high school, so I hadn't yet started my involvement with MAO. And I told my mom, wouldn't it be so cool if we offered acting classes at the Buddy House? And so I always say that Inclusive Stages was born on that Saturday night performance of Hello Dolly. And then, 2 years later, I find myself involved with Miss America and given the opportunity to develop, a platform and a service initiative and something that I'm passionate about. And really that's when Inclusive Stages, had its kickstart. And it really is a grassroots movement. And that's what I love about it, is it's something that, started in my head and now is, making a tangible difference in Kentucky communities. And through Inclusive Stages, I've had the opportunity to teach those acting classes. One of the newest initiatives that I'm really, really proud of is theatrical sensory kits that are sent out to Kentucky theaters to make them more accessible for individuals with sensory processing disorders. So really Inclusive Stages, the essence of it is making sure that everyone can shine, because I know that that's true if they're simply given the opportunity to do so. And I've always said that the arts are innately human and inherently inclusive, and they really are just a welcoming space for everyone to shine. And so I'm really passionate about Inclusive Stages, and it's really been a joy to watch it grow, over my 3 years as a local title holder and, subsequently as Miss Kentucky as well.
That's so fun. I always love that question because it's always the one that people are the most passionate about. So it's so fun to see how passionate you are about that. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, so this one's the hardest question, I won't lie.
Okay,
Why
here we
do why do you think the judges selected you to represent the state?
Oh goodness. Well, I competed for 3 years. I won on my third try. It was lucky number three for me. And I think, looking back, I was not ready to be Miss Kentucky my first year. I was not ready to be Miss Kentucky my second year. I really think that timing is everything. And by that third year, I was ready. But I also kind of knew how to market myself in a way where, I knew what I brought to the table. I knew I had visualized what my year as Miss Kentucky would look like. And I was able to communicate that with the judges. And, I always say I've talked to, I stay in pretty good contact with some of the judges from this past year. And I really think we were able to make a connection in that private interview. And, like we kind of talked about earlier, that interview aspect of the competition is just so vital because I think that that's why there's so much pressure that's put on it. That's why we psych ourselves out, because there is this very small window of opportunity to build that connection that then can kind of be capitalized off of when you step on stage. But really, when I stepped on stage the day after my interview as Miss Kentucky, I felt like I knew those judges. We had laughed together. I had shared my passions and my goals and my vision for the Miss Kentucky organization, in our private interview. So I then felt like that was able to be displayed through my confidence on stage as well. But building that connection is so important. And I think it's clear that we did that because, like I said, we still stay in contact. I think I've spoken with all of the judges about my experience at Miss America. And I think that's so important and such a special experience that I was able to have.
Well, and also probably a pretty good source of help for prep for Miss America. Like
Absolutely. No.
getting to talk to them about like, okay, like, because that was one of the things that I'm pretty new to pageants and I
Yeah.
come from dance. And, in dance, at a dance competition, you get like somebody is holding a microphone to their mouth and saying, point your toe on that leg, like, make sure that you're extending, like, you like,
Right.
movement by movement critiques on what you can improve on. And that was like really blew my mind whenever I started pageants. I was like, what do you mean I don't get feedback? Like,
Right.
what? So
Yeah, for
having that
sure.
option is awesome.
Yes, for absolutely. There's one of the judges who was the former Miss Kentucky on the judges panel. She's fabulous, Mackenzie Mays Walter, and she was in my first mock interview for Miss America. And so, for her to be able to offer feedback from not only the state competition, but even in the ways that I had grown just by my 2 months of experience as Miss Kentucky was really cool for her to be able to kind of recognize and to offer feedback from there. So yes, I'm so thankful that they've been there for me every step of the way, and I think that that's really unique and something that I'll definitely encourage the judges at Miss Kentucky 2024 to do as well, because to have that support is really monumental.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And going more in depth, we were talking about how that might be good for prep for Miss America, but what did your prep for Miss America look like? What were the things that you focused on? What was shocking to you about prep? Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, so I mean I think for me it was a very internal process. And for Miss Kentucky I felt like every day I was doing however many interview prep questions, and I was doing this and this and this and running my talent every single day. But I think for Miss America I really prepared by being Miss Kentucky, and I think that was something that really helped me at the national level to know that I was being Miss America on a smaller scale, and leaning into the similarities of what it would look like to jump from being Miss Kentucky to that job promotion of being Miss America. So that day-to-day experience is so helpful. And I think from the local to state level, from the state to national level, those are jumps that can be made. Your experience as a local title holder will prepare you for the state level, and that goes for that jump from state to national as well. I mean, of course, there's a lot of goal setting involved. I have a fabulous goal setting coach, Maria Maldonado Smith. She's fantastic. She's a former Miss Kentucky as well. And she kind of helped me, process and internalize what I wanted my year as Miss America to look like. And, how I, once again, being able to capitalize and market off of what you bring to the table. But with that being said, there was a lot of journaling involved. There was a lot of, making sure that I was going to be boldly and confidently me without feeling the need to, prepare or compare myself, excuse me, to the other women that are competing because, at Miss America, this goes for the state level too. You're surrounded by the most kind, ambitious, talented women, in the country. And it's hard, not to look at what they do and be like, well, I don't have this degree. I don't have this experience. I haven't done XYZ. But you have to be confident in what you bring to the table because everybody's year as Miss America would look different. And that's okay. Everybody's year as Miss Kentucky would look different. Everybody's year as Miss Bowling Green, my local title, would be different. And, that's what makes this organization, so special at the end of the day is that we are all able to be confident in what we bring to the table and uplift what others bring to the table as well. So I feel like getting myself into that mindset for Miss Kentucky was so important, but especially, for that national competition, not putting any pressure on myself to, compare myself to the other women or, limit or expand what I brought as well.
I love what you said about, your work as a local title holder will help you for, the next level up and then the next level up. So talk about the biggest shift from, you were a local title holder for 3 years. So talk about the biggest shift from going from local title holder to state title holder.
Yes. So, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, with Kentucky, it's really unique because you do have, that full-time position where, some days you're going to be, or some weeks you're going to be on the road 6 or 7 days a week, just moving and grooving and working full-time for the Kentucky Department of Agriculture as well. And so I feel like, that's a learning curve, for me. And I'm sure it is, in states where there is, that full-time position or a brand that subsequently are marketing for after you win that Miss America title. And so I had to learn, a lot about agriculture and the ins and outs of, Kentucky's 76,000 farms, which has been, so fun for me, especially my grandfather is a proud owner of a 256-acre farm in Kentucky, which actually backs up to Mammoth Cave National Park, which is a cool little fun fact. But, being able to have that foundation was really awesome. But of course, I didn't know, the ins and the outs of the Kentucky Proud program and the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. And so that was, really cool. I had like a KDA boot camp where I kind of got the rundown on what my year would look like as an ambassador for Kentucky agriculture. So that was a big, change for me stepping into the state level because that's not something typically that, Kentucky local title holders would focus on, of course, unless that's their service initiative. So that was really, really fun for me as well. But, it is very, very true that your work as a local title holder will prepare you for your year as Miss Kentucky, especially within the realm of your service initiative as well. You're going to have the opportunity to expand initiatives that you started as a local title holder, which I think is really cool to be able to look back and see that progression of things that I started as Miss Corvette City in 2020 and 2021 and things that have now expanded and grown so much as Miss Kentucky that wouldn't have been possible unless I took that step my first year as local title holder.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so talk about the most surprising thing about Miss America Week. It could be quite literally as small as like the food or something bigger like the schedule, but just kind of talk about in general, what was the most shocking thing to you about Miss America Week?
Oh my goodness. I knew I was going to make amazing friendships and relationships, but I didn't know how deep they would span. I really do believe that I've made, friends for life through the Miss America experience. And it's really cool when you're able to share something, so special and so unique with such a small group of women. Of course, a group of 51 doesn't sound necessarily small, but once you get there, it's, so close and so tight knit. And I think we're all going to be able to share, this cherished memory of this week for such a long time. I was surprised with the amount we slept as well. There was not a lot of sleep involved. I think, we were averaging probably like 4 hours of sleep a night. But, you're just running on so much adrenaline that it doesn't even matter. And then once you get home, you just crash. I think I slept, probably for a week once I got home. But it really was just the most joyous and amazing experience. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's something that I'm definitely going to hold near and dear to my heart for a long time.
I love that. And I feel like I was talking to another title holder about this, about her
Yeah.
experience with Teen USA. And
Okay.
she said the same thing, like you always hear like the friendships that you make. And we decided that it's because it's a trauma bond, because it is one of like the most stressful weeks of your entire life, probably besides your wedding or maybe
Yes.
and you're all stressed like together. So like what else are you gonna do except for cry with each other or, emote? So
Yes, I yeah, we when we stepped on stage, for the first time, definitely in rehearsals, but I feel like it started to hit us at the preliminary competition, which was the Wednesday night of Miss America Week. You could just feel people's dreams coming true, which, makes me emotional to talk about, but it is something that, you dream about and you work so hard for years and years and years. And, to not only see that come to fruition for yourself, but to watch 50 other women experience that is so special. And I think, I mean, it really hit me. It feels like it hit so much later than I thought it would, but really before that finals night competition, we're all standing on stage, the curtain is down, there's a performer, singing the national anthem, there's a flag, on the big LED screens, and everybody just has their eyes closed and just taking it all in. And that curtain goes up and the crowd is roaring. I was like, oh my gosh, am I at Miss America or am I dreaming? Like, pinch me. This is crazy. But yeah, to watch people's dreams come true is always something that, makes me so emotional. And it's such a cool thing to witness. So being a part of that is really special.
I love that. I also want to know your thoughts. I was so stressed for you guys, watching finals night whenever you came out to do what you thought was on stage question. I didn't like that they like threw you guys a curveball. I was kind of like feeling defensive. I was like, do not do this to them in like the most stressful night of their life. Like, please don't. But what were your thoughts in that moment whenever they were like, we're not doing what you guys practice, we're switching it up?
Yeah, so we weren't totally sure, what the format of questioning would look like for the top 11 and then for the top five. But right before we went on stage, one of our amazing choreographers, Mikey, he brought us all together. And of course, it's so chaotic for that top 11. Like, we are just changing and like, what do we need to do next? Like, I really was like, I need to just think of this like one event at a time. I was like, I'm stressing about this. I'm stressing about that. I'm like, what is right in front of me? So we're all backstage, we're ready to go on stage, and I'm kind of peering out and I'm seeing the chairs, lined up, and I'm like, okay, this is different. I don't really know what to expect. I'm down for anything. We'll make it work. And Mikey brings us close and he's like, we just want you to know it's your interpretation. It's your interpretation of the question. I guess he said, or maybe he just said, it's your interpretation. And so at that point, I kind of figured that something different was about to happen. But I feel like, the whole essence of Miss America Week, the whole motto of Miss America Week is just being able to pivot and being flexible and just literally conquering the thing that is right in front of you. So, I mean, I think it worked out so well. All the girls were so eloquent, and it honestly seemed like all the questions were just handpicked with how well everyone handled their questions. So, I was definitely proud of us for the way that we handled that situation, and everyone is just so amazing. So I knew when we got out there we'd be able to handle it, even if it was a curveball.
Yeah, no, y'all killed it for sure. Y'all killed it for sure. That would have stressed me out to no end as somebody who is definitely a planner and is definitely not flexible. I
Oh
would
my
have,
god.
like probably turned into a puddle. I really don't know, but y'all killed it. Y'all did great. Okay, so you told us about the most surprising thing about Miss America Week, but talk about your favorite thing about Miss America Week.
Oh my goodness. My favorite thing about Miss America Week, I loved watching my teen, Sophia, compete. That was so amazing being able to sit in the teen finals audience. We were up in the balcony watching, and it was so fun, looking around and seeing all the Miss contestants watching their teens compete. Just, the sisterhood and the camaraderie that we all share. And, of course, as state title holders, we spend so much time together as well. And so I knew how hard Sophia had prepared, for the national competition, how much work she had put in on top of her already very busy schedule. And so, to be able to watch, her dreams come true and her secure that spot in the top five, I, definitely was fighting back tears up there in the balcony. But that definitely was something that, is so special and something that, I'll never forget being able to watch her shine on that big national stage.
I love that. What a sweet moment. Okay, finals question. If you
Okay.
could pick one piece of advice to give to a girl competing at Miss America next year, what would
Right.
it be?
I'm looking, I have my full length mirror right here in my room. And it has a quote written in expo marker that's been written on there since before I competed at Miss Kentucky. And it says, "You're not competing against anyone but Mallory Hudson." And I think, that is the mentality that you have to not only be, a successful competitor, a successful title holder, but I think just to be successful in life. We've talked a lot about being able to market yourself and being able to capitalize off of what you bring to the table and not feeling the need to compare that to what other people bring to the table, but just go to your state competition, your local competition, even Miss America 2025. That sounds so weird to say. And be you, soak it all in, don't put too much pressure on it. You've already won. If you're on a local stage, if you're on a state stage, if you're on the national stage, you have won. It's a win-win situation, regardless if you're taking a crown home or not only with, the personal skills that you develop, the personal relationships, but also, the professional development, that you feel as well. So I think lean into that. And it's a really fabulous thing when you do.
Yeah. Well, and that was your evening gown quote. I know that.
Yes, it was. It's something that I've really held close to my heart, throughout the Miss Kentucky experience and, even then on to Miss America as well. So I think I'll be saying that quote for a very long time.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mallory. I've decided that I'm now a YouTuber. This is a very
Oh,
new.
love it.
So I did a recap video on Miss America's Teen and Miss America, and I have to tell you that you were my winner pick. So I just know that I was rooting for you and cheering you on the whole way, and I'm just so thankful that you were able to come on and chat on the podcast.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to following your journey as well. If you ever need anything, you've got a friend in Kentucky. So thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you, and I will see the rest of you guys on our next episode. Bye, y'all.